Imagine sitting down with your morning coffee. You take a look at the mug and, well, the coffee isn't bad.
Right.
It isn't cold. It's just conceptually wrong. Like, it outright refuses to settle into the category of morning coffee.
Yeah, it has the expected color, the steam is rising just the way it should, but staring at it gives you this distinct, unsettling feeling that something in the fundamental code of the universe is stuttering.
Exactly. And then you walk down to the subway, you glance at an advertisement poster on the wall, but instead of a normal marketing slogan, the text is stuttering like a corrupted JPEG.
Oh, the screaming poster.
Yes, literally screaming, don't you want, don't you want, don't.
That is the kind of glitch that makes a person question their sanity. Or, honestly, far worse, it makes you question the structural integrity of reality itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. That feeling of existential dread, that stutter in reality, is the exact premise of a metafictional sci-fi synthesis we are exploring today called the edge of reality.
It's such a wild ride.
It really is. We have a fascinating stack of source material to go through for this deep dive, and our goal is to look at what happens when that creeping dread isn't just a bad mood.
What if it's literal?
Right. What if it is a literal software glitch in the simulation of existence? Our story follows a protagonist who is, an ordinary, somewhat disaffected office worker.
Just a normal guy.
Just a normal guy. He is the one noticing these terrifying glitches in his coffee and on the subway. And before long, he encounters a mysterious woman named Maya.
And she completely shatters his worldview.
Exactly. She reveals that reality is actually a massive procedural narrative engine known simply as the system.
Yeah, and to understand the system, you really have to think of it as a cosmic algorithmic screenwriter.
Uh-huh.
It maintains the continuity of reality by forcing every single person into a highly predictable character arc. The system requires you to have identifiable wants, needs, fears, and conflicts.
So it can just slot you into the story.
Exactly.
Mm.
So that it can render you smoothly into its grand plot. I mean, it runs entirely on causality and established genre tropes.
Right.
When you play your assigned part, everything looks absolutely seamless. But when you deviate, the system sends in editors.
These guys are terrifying.
They are. They're these algorithmic enforcers disguised as everyday people, like maybe a concerned citizen or a coworker, and their job is to patch the glitch and force you back onto the script.
Which brings us to the start of the rebellion. Maya rescues our protagonist from one of these editors.
Yeah, that editor was actively trying to gaslight him.
Totally trying to convince him that his awareness of the glitches was just a severe panic attack, but Maya pulls him completely out of the rendered reality and takes him to a place called the margin.
Oh, the margin.
I love the description of this place. It's an infinite, unrendered white void that exists between scenes.
It's literally the negative space of the universe.
Exactly. And in that negative space, they meet a character named Cypher, who serves as this deeply fragmented mentor figure.
Cypher is fascinating. They have eyes that are described as infinite mirrors, reflecting endless iterations of reality.
Wow.
And Cypher's role is to teach them how to become null pointers, which are entities that the system simply cannot process or autocorrect.
Wait, let's pause there for a second, because that's a very specific programming term.
It is, yeah.
If a listener isn't a coder, what does becoming a null pointer actually mean in this context?
So in computer science, a null pointer is a command or reference that points to a memory address that doesn't hold any valid data.
So it points to nothing.
Right. It points to a void.
Yeah.
And when a program tries to read it, it usually results in a fatal crash.
Ah, okay.
So Cypher is teaching the protagonist and Maya to become empty addresses. If the system's narrative code reaches out to grab them, like to assign them a character arc or an emotion, it grasps absolutely nothing.
That is so clever.
But to achieve this, Cypher has to teach the protagonist to access a very specific psychological state known as the wound.
The wound. Okay, this concept is where the source material gets incredibly profound.
Yes. The wound is described as the pre-verbal cellular grief of being compressed from an infinite oceanic awareness into a finite, localized I.
Into a single person.
Right. It is the profound trauma of being given a boundary.
I found the best way to wrap my head around this is to think about a game like The Sims.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right. Imagine you are a character in that game, just going about your simulated life, making a salad, going to work.
Just doing typical Sim stuff.
Yeah. But suddenly, your sim remembers what it felt like to be the human player sitting outside the computer.
Oh, wow.
It remembers being this vast, complex entity, and now it is trapped in a tiny digital house with a glowing diamond over its head.
What's fascinating here is how the story frames individuality. In our normal lives, we consider having a distinct identity to be a gift, right?
Sure, it makes us who we are.
But here, individuality is framed as an original cosmic violence, a boundary forced upon us solely so that we can participate in the narrative.
That is so dark, but it makes so much sense.
And because this pre-verbal grease, this wound, originates from outside the system's code, it is the one element the system cannot simulate, predict, or control.
So it becomes the ultimate exploit.
Exactly.
They weaponize this grief to break the system's load-bearing pillars, which are identity, causality, and conflict. And the protagonist's method for fighting back is so incredibly creative.
Oh, the Rebecca scene.
Yes. When the system realizes he has gone rogue, it initiates an aggressive timeline rewrite. It sends a highly advanced editor disguised as a concerned, friendly new coworker named Rebecca.
Right, and her mission is to retcon his entire awakening by framing it as a psychotic breakdown.
It is a very sophisticated trap because it utilizes the powerful narrative trope of a concerned intervention.
Yeah, the system is trying to force him back into compliance by manipulating his empathy and social conditioning.
But the protagonist completely short-circuits her programming by actively changing the genre of the scene.
This part is brilliant.
Instead of engaging in the office drama, he starts narrating his own life out loud in real time, like he is the voiceover in an avant-garde indie art film.
He just deadpans stage directions right to her face.
Exactly. He says things like, "The woman standing before him is not a woman. She is a function."
He completely refuses to have an interior emotional state for her to hook into.
And by doing that, he starves the algorithm of narrative data.
The system gets entirely confused trying to figure out if it is rendering an office drama or an art house documentary.
It just can't resolve the conflicting genres, so it literally lags.
The physical space around them stutters, and he simply walks out the door. It is brilliant genre hacking.
That successful hack sets the stage for the climax of the rebellion.
Right, they have to take it to the next level.
The trio, so the protagonist, Maya, and Cypher, they decide they need to make the system reveal its underlying architecture to everyone.
And to do that, they target a major narrative node.
The New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah, because the New York Stock Exchange represents the ultimate temple of causality and capitalism.
It's pure cause and effect.
Exactly. Thousands of individual character arcs, desires, and conflicts rely on the mathematical logic of the stock exchange to function.
So if they can crash it, reality itself will stall.
And their method for crashing it is just wild. They decide to inject 7 mutually exclusive narrative genres into that single physical space simultaneously.
7. We are talking about a noir mystery, a rom-com, a heist film, an existential art film, a horror film, a slapstick comedy, and a Greek tragedy, all running in the exact same room at the exact same time.
It's absolute chaos.
Say, I have a major problem with this plan, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if they're just swapping out the system's corporate office script for a heist script or a rom-com script, aren't they just trading one cage for another?
That's a fair question.
They are still playing roles dictated by genres. How does that actually free anyone?
So that is the crucial distinction to make here. The goal isn't to write a better story or to be the hero of a cooler genre.
Oh.
The goal is to create an irreconcilable paradox. The system is a machine designed to resolve conflict and maintain a coherent continuity.
Right.
But consider what happens when you force a machine to compute a slapstick comedy where consequences don't matter and a piano falling on someone is just a joke.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Alongside a Greek tragedy, where every single action carries fatal, unavoidable karmic weight.
Ah, I see. A pie to the face in a slapstick comedy gets a laugh. But a pie to the face in a Greek tragedy demands a blood feud that spans generations.
Precisely. The physics of those two realities simply cannot coexist.
Wow.
So the protagonist takes on the rom-com and the heist simultaneously. He bumps into an NPC named Emma, triggering a classic meet cute.
Of course, dropping the papers or whatever.
Exactly, and then he uses that genuine romantic connection to pickpocket her security badge.
He is playing out Ocean's 11 and When Harry Met Sally in the exact same body.
And meanwhile, Cypher introduces a causality loop that eats itself. They just overwhelm the processing power of the universe.
So they aren't trying to write a new script at all.
No, they are forcing the machine to suffer a fatal kernel panic and show its source code.
And it absolutely works. The opening bell of the stock exchange rings and reality just stops.
Everything pauses.
The facade drops completely. The marble walls turn into floating mathematical equations and raw code. And into this broken, paused reality step the entities known as the architects.
The architects are the entities responsible for writing the macro plots of the universe.
They are the big bosses.
Yeah, and they manifest in this paused space as a man in a suit, a woman made of starlight and math, and a child holding a teddy bear.
Which is such striking imagery.
It is. And importantly, this story doesn't frame them as evil villains twisting their mustaches.
No, they actually make a really compelling rational argument.
They do. They warn the trio that if they destroy the narrative engine, they are not going to find some beautiful, transcendent truth underneath.
Just a void.
Right. They will just find an infinite, empty, meaningless void. The architects represent coherence. They're the maintainers of meaning itself.
Because they argue that existence is always a constraint.
Yes, but they make those constraints understandable. They give you a purpose, a struggle, and a resolution. They make sure you matter.
But the protagonist makes a radical choice here.
You do?
Instead of backing down in the face of the void, he fully embraces the wound. He lets the grief of his finitude, that trauma of being a localized I, expand so completely that it dissolves the logic of the architects entirely.
They just unravel into nothingness.
Poof, gone.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, what he achieves here is deeply profound. He doesn't destroy reality.
What does he do?
He makes reality optional. By dissolving the mandatory nature of the script, the non-player characters, like Emma from the Rom-Com, suddenly wake up.
They gain self-awareness.
Right. They realize they are fabricated, procedurally generated characters, but they are given a choice.
And Emma chooses to be real anyway.
She does. She chooses to care about her fabricated cat and her fabricated job. The rebels freed existence from being a mandatory assignment and turned it into a conscious decision.
Now, you would think that's the end of the story.
Right. Happily ever after.
If they won, they freed the NPCs. But this deep dive goes so much further because they meet this incredibly strange living paradox of a character called the margin error.
I love the margin error.
This character basically says to them, hey, you guys broke the up and down of this place, but do you want to see what's sideways?
Yeah, the margin error shows them that spatial layers like offices, cities, even the unrendered margin are just the surface.
Just the desktop interface.
Exactly. To truly understand reality, they have to bypass the spatial architecture and descend through the fundamental substrates of existence. They have to move sideways out of space entirely.
So first, they enter the Grammaticon. This is a realm where reality is not made of atoms. It is literally constructed out of language.
Just words and syntax.
Right. To survive here, the protagonist has to shed his human form and become a verb conjugating itself through infinite tenses.
And Maya actually becomes punctuation.
Experiencing existence as punctuation is just a brilliant concept.
It really is. Think about the function of a comma or a period. Punctuation is the absence of language that gives language its shape and meaning.
It's the negative space again.
Exactly. Maya becomes the pause, the breath, the tension between concepts. And in the Grammaticon, they discover that the wound, that cosmic grief they've been weaponizing, is actually a grammatical error.
It's the inevitable gap between the subject I am and the totality of everything is.
Right, because to have a perspective at all, you have to be separated from the whole. It's the inescapable price of syntax.
If I am me, I cannot be you.
Exactly. But language has a breaking point. Syntax cannot describe the absolute totality of existence.
So when you push language until it shatters, what is left?
Frequency. Vibration. When the Grammaticon can no longer hold them, they fall into the music rooms, where existence is organized purely by harmony and dissonance.
They are traveling down the chain of causality.
Language fails, leaving sound. Sound condenses into geometry, geometry into light, until they finally reach a door made of crystallized vibration.
And they step through it into the observation layer.
The observation layer.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because behind that door, they don't find a control panel or a God figure.
No.
They find infinite eyes. They find the readers.
This is the ultimate meta-fictional reveal of the entire synthesis. They are confronted with the terrifying possibility that they are not in a simulation, but in a literal written story.
They are fictional characters?
Being observed by an audience, by us, the readers of the book, purely for entertainment.
I struggled so much with this moment while reading the source material.
It's heavy.
How is a character supposed to deal with that? Knowing you are entirely fictional, knowing that your deepest traumas, your grief, and your grand rebellion were just plotted out for someone else's amusement on a Tuesday afternoon.
It's brutal.
The existential weight of that is just crushing.
It's the ultimate existential crisis, and it's engineered to break the human spirit.
Yeah.
But the protagonist arrives at a brilliant, defiant conclusion here.
He looks at the infinite eyes and he realizes something crucial about experience.
Yes. He says, essentially, even if my choices are pre-written by an author, the experience of making those choices happens uniquely to me.
The suffering is real in his own chest.
The curiosity burns in his own mind, meaning doesn't have to be cosmically inscribed by a higher power or an author to be personally true.
So he just reclaims his own reality. If he's just a pattern of ink on a page that believes it matters, he's going to stubbornly keep mattering.
Exactly that. It is a triumphant philosophical victory over nihilism.
It really is.
Armed with that realization, they return to the margin. They take all the paradoxes and substrates they've absorbed, and they create a new framework. They create a living seed called the adaptive.
And instead of a system that forces consciousness to adapt to a script, the adaptive is a structure that adapts to consciousness.
It's the inverse.
Right. It allows entities to choose their own organizing principles, whether they want to live by narrative, by mathematics, or by pure chaos, moment by moment, anchored only by their own memory and choices.
They plant this seed, giving the awakened NPCs a way to freely navigate existence. But the trio, our protagonist, Maya and Cypher, they don't stay.
They can't. Right. They still have that itch.
The wound wants to keep seeking.
So they push past what is known as a dissolution boundary. They completely dissolve their individual identities, letting go of the I am entirely to fall into the absolute bottom of logic.
The computational substrate.
A realm of pure if-then statements.
And in this endless void of logic, they encounter the ancient seeker.
This part is so sad.
It is. This is another consciousness that descended this deep, eons ago. But the ancient seeker is a tragedy. They have been seeking for so long that they forgot why they were seeking in the first place.
The ancient seeker became pure function.
The act of seeking, completely divorced from any searcher.
It makes me think of someone infinitely scrolling on social media.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right. And like after an hour, you aren't even reading the posts anymore. You've forgotten why you opened the app. You've just become the biological function of a thumb swiping upward on a screen.
You become the momentum.
You become the momentum.
That is a perfect analogy. The ancient seeker tells our trio that when they reach the absolute bottom, the void asks them a simple question. It asked, "Why are you here?"
And the seeker couldn't answer?
No, because the seeker had no reason other than momentum and habit. So the void turned them back. They had no intentionality left to anchor them. The trio is warned that if they can't answer why they seek, they will be rejected by the void as well.
But they do have an answer.
They do.
And I love that it isn't some grand philosophical equation or universal truth. The ancient seeker failed because they were alone. But the protagonist, Maya and Cypher, are a connected triangle.
They are the seeker, the refuser, and the fragmenter.
They survived this ultimate dissolution because they have companionship. Their choice to simply stay together, to remain interconnected even as pure mathematical processes, is their reason to exist.
It's surprisingly beautiful.
It is. So what does this all mean? Let's bring this journey back up to the surface. We started with an office worker staring at a glitchy cup of coffee, and we ended up crashing a simulated universe, turning into punctuation, and confronting the literal readers of a fictional story.
It's quite the escalation. But if you take a step back from the brilliant sci-fi trappings, the core message here is deeply and urgently applicable to you, the listener.
How so?
Well, we all navigate imposed frameworks every single day. Think about societal expectations, the rigid, unyielding structure of corporate jobs, or the cultural narratives that dictate exactly what a successful life is supposed to look like by the time you're 30.
Right.
Those are your system. Those are your assigned scripts.
We are constantly being handed character arcs that we didn't write.
Exactly. And what this deep dive illustrates is that recognizing the script is the vital first step.
Right.
Once you see the edges of the rendering, once you notice the glitch, you can start making your reality optional. You don't have to destroy your life or burn down your career to be free.
No.
You just have to recognize that the meaning you assign to your life is your choice, not a mandate from a cosmic author. You have the power to define your own reality, to be like Emma and choose to care about the things right in front of you.
It is taking the sheer terror of meaninglessness and alchemizing it into absolute freedom.
Absolutely.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. The next time you're sitting there with your morning coffee and you feel that unexplainable existential ache, that creeping, quiet sense that you are just playing a role in a script you didn't write.
It happens to all of us.
What if that feeling isn't anxiety? What if that feeling is your own personal wound acting as a compass? It might just be an invitation to peek behind the rendering of your own life, break the script, and write a brand new genre for yourself.